Welcome to Floor Talk. I'm Caroline Woods on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, and I'm joined by Oliver Friedrichs. He is founder and CEO of Pangea. Oliver, great to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me.
So Oliver, I know you've built several security companies, but Pangea focuses on AI security. So I'm curious, what prompted that focus?
Yeah, well, look, I think, for everyone who's alive today, you're seeing Gen AI take over the world, right? And every time we have new compute, we had cloud, we had the internet, we had IoT, we had mobile, we had SaaS. We need to secure those compute platforms. And Gen AI is so big that I would argue it's one of the biggest challenges to actually secure today as well. And to go faster, if you're an enterprise, you actually want to go faster by using Gen AI, you have to really make sure it's trustworthy and safe.
Yeah, it would seem like it's hard for companies to keep up with it, but also for the developers who are also trying to keep up with the fast change of pace.
Yeah, most developers really are focused on innovation. They're not even focused on the security aspects of how do we make this safe and secure. And so by providing guardrails to teams to actually build secure applications, agents, chatbots, right, we can actually allow them to go faster versus slowing them down. So guardrails are actually meant to enable you and allow you to innovate even faster versus holding you back like security normally does.
What are some of the blind spots, the AI blind spots that companies currently face right now, and which are the most dangerous?
Well, the most obvious one that everyone's aware of is something called prompt injection attacks. It's very similar to the malware space. For decades we've been dealing with byte-based threats that are embedded in files. Now we're dealing with words as weapons, basically, that are manipulating large language models to do things that they're not supposed to be doing. So breaking out of their system prompt, which is what the guideline is that tells them what to do, as well as exposing sensitive information, emitting profanity or sexual content or other language. Because when you think about it, these large language models, they're trained on almost the entirety of human knowledge, which includes like a lot of good stuff, but a lot of garbage as well.
If you know what the blind spots are, though, why do they still exist?
It's a very difficult problem to solve because the way that these models work, they're inherently black boxes. And so it's very hard to actually limit sometimes how they work and the actual process that they use to what we call inference, to emit information, because they're just generating content based on what they've been trained on and learned. And like I mentioned, there's so much garbage out there and bad information that they've been trained on, because most of these frontier models are trained on the entire internet. And that includes everything that we've ever generated as a society.
So what recommendations do you have for teams to get ahead of those blind spots and really bring them into focus?
Well, the key is really deploying guardrails to make sure that the input to the model is secure so that someone's not trying to attack the model itself using prompt injection. And then guardrails on the output to make sure the model's not emitting dangerous information. For example, how to build a bomb, right? If you're in finance and you're building a financial services app using Gen AI, it should never talk about that, right? It should be limited to the topics that you only want to focus on. So that's really what we're focused on, is making sure that models are both protected from the inputs, but then the actual outputs are also cleansed and sanitized against anything that you don't want your customers to see.
Where do you see the AI security landscape going from here? Because it sounds like every day, really, it brings about change. So even as you think ahead years from now, where is it going?
It's such an evolving space that every single day there's some new either threat or attack method or countermeasure and vulnerability that's being discovered, because it's so early. It really reminds me of the internet in the 90s, because at that point, it was like Swiss cheese. Anyone could break into almost any server if you knew how, and it took decades to lock those down. So I think we're kind of in a similar situation where we're doing the best we can, but there's no 100% guarantee today.
I should note that Pangea was also named on the Rising in Cyber list for 2025, showing a lot of promise for a private company. Tell me, what does it feel like to be on the list, and what did it take to get there?
Well, first, yeah, we really appreciate the recognition. It's really a testament to the hard work at the company that's everyone's been doing over the last several years, and the recognition by the CISOs and the security executives that have voted us in. So really appreciate that, and yeah, it's really rewarding to see that, and I feel like we're solving such an important problem that it's the right time for this solution.
And what's next for you at Pangea?
Well, we're continuing to focus on making AI trustworthy and safe. The next thing is really agents. We've been talking about agents now for the last year. Everyone's building agents. Some of the big SaaS providers tell us there's millions of agents now, which is accurate. And those are really another level of threat. So for example, agents are basically large language models that now perform actions and run tools and do things for you and run complex reasoning tasks. And that introduces like a whole set of other risks that we need to protect against versus just the old ChatGPT, which generates text output. Now we're running commands and doing kinetic activities, which becomes very scary.
Oliver, thanks so much for shedding some light on your space. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.